predicted that Vice President and Democratic candidate Kamala Harris will win the White House race. We have an exclusive lined up for you. Donald Trump pleaded not guilty to revised federal charges against him over his alleged attempts to interfere in the 2020 presidential election. Georgia state officials have arrested the father of the 14-year-old suspected school shooter, Colt Gray, in connection with Wednesday's shooting that killed 4 people and wounded 9 at a high school in Georgia. In fact, officials say the 14-year-old used an AR platform-style weapon or semi-automatic rifle to carry out the attack. Hunter Biden has pleaded guilty to all 9 charges in his federal tax evasion case, catching federal prosecutors off guard as they prepared to begin his trial. The son of the US president had previously denied allegations that he intentionally avoided paying $1.4 million in income tax from 2016 to 2019. US job openings dropped to a 3.5-year low in July, suggesting the labor market was losing steam. The US private employers hired the fewest number of workers in 3.5 years in August, and data for the prior month was revised lower, potentially hinting at a sharp labor market slowdown in the United States. Well, our big focus. A 14-year-old boy will be charged with murder after 4 people were killed and 9 injured in a shooting at a Georgia high school. In fact, Georgia state officials have arrested Colin Gray, the father of the 14-year-old Colt Gray, who is suspected in the deadly shooting at the high school in Georgia. The incident, as we have been reporting, took place on the 4th of September and it resulted in 4 deaths and 9 injuries. Now, Colin Gray, who's 54 years old, faces multiple charges, including 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 8 counts of cruelty to children, according to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. It has emerged as well that the FBI interviewed him last year after receiving anonymous tips about online threats to commit a school shooting. This is the 14-year-old, but agents did not arrest him at the time. Here's the latest update from Georgia's Bureau of Investigation.
With District Attorney Brad Smith, the GBI has arrested Colin Gray, age 54, in connection to the shooting here at Appalachia High School. Colin is Colt Gray's father that was arrested yesterday. He is charged with the following: 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 8 counts of cruelty to children. Mr. Gray, these charges stem from Mr. Gray knowingly allowing his son, Colt, to possess a weapon.
Now the news: Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to a revised set of criminal charges over his alleged attempts to overturn the result of the 2020 election. The former US president, who is the Republican candidate for this year's showdown in November, faces 4 charges of using false claims of voter fraud to undermine the election results and prevent Joe Biden being certified as the winner. The new indictment, brought in August, was revised after the US Supreme Court ruled that former presidents have broad immunity from criminal prosecution. Mr. Trump's lawyers, though, have argued the judge should not begin weighing the impact of the immunity until December, after the election in the United States. But if Donald Trump wins the election, he is expected to order the US Justice Department to drop the charges. But on Wednesday, the candidates agreed on ground rules for their first TV debate. That's the next big thing to watch out for. Tuesday's ABC-hosted event in Philadelphia will use the same rules and format as the June debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Candidate microphones will be live only for the candidate whose turn it is to speak, and the upcoming debates are seen as potentially pivotal. In fact, a smiling Vladimir Putin said Russia will support Kamala Harris as he gave an interview while attending the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok in Russia. In fact, Putin also spoke about Kamala Harris's infectious laugh and criticized former President Donald Trump's sanctions on his country. Mr. Putin's comments have been met with criticism, with US Security Council spokesperson John Kirby saying Putin ought to stop talking about the US elections, period. He should not be favoring anybody one way or another. Meanwhile, Hunter Biden caught justice officials in the United States completely off guard because he pleaded guilty to 9 charges in his federal tax evasion case. In fact, I must inform you that the son of the US President Joe Biden, he had previously denied allegations that he intentionally avoided paying $1.4 million in income tax from 2016 to the year 2019, but then a last-minute guilty plea in this tax evasion case. From the United States, let's get you a quick update now from Canada, where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau faces an uncertain future after the small party that has helped keep his Liberal minority government in power withdrew its automatic support. Now, in terms of the impact, the blow is the latest in a series of political woes and missteps that have helped reduce Trudeau's popularity. Recent polls show his Liberals would be crushed by the official opposition Conservatives in an election that must be held by the end of October 2025. The New Democrats had kept Justin Trudeau in power in return for increased social spending. Now, with this fallout, this will force Trudeau to attempt to create new alliances to govern. Also, the withdrawal of the left-leaning New Democratic Party, the NDP, from its agreement with Liberals could bring forward an election in Canada months earlier. For a fall election to take place there, the Trudeau government would have to either petition the Governor-General to dissolve Parliament or fall on a confidence vote. If the latter were to happen, Justin Trudeau would actually become the 8th Prime Minister in Canada's history and 3rd in a row to be defeated by a vote of no confidence. Well, news and updates continue in a moment, right after this very short break. Don't go anywhere.
You have seen their blockbusters. Now meet the legends.
साहब वो गाने जो पहले होते थे 50, 60 में, अब वो नहीं होते। गानों को क्या हो गया?
For the first time in decades on a news TV network.
When you were giving blockbuster after blockbuster, when stars like Amitabh Bachchan were, being created.
You don't create Amitabh Bachchan, you discover it.
जो आइकॉनिक जोड़ी बनी सलीम जावेद की, वो डेस्टिनी नहीं है तो ये हार्ड वर्क है आप लोग दोनों की किस ये आप लोग दोनों की हार्ड वर्क है।
देखिए, हार्ड वर्क का मतलब ये नहीं है anybody who doesn't believe in destiny doesn't mean that he controls everything. I don't believe in destiny, but I don't have any delusion that I control everything.
सलीम जावेद ने जब स्क्रिप्ट लिखी, राइटर्स थे, तो उनका नाम हुआ। उसके बाद किसी राइटर का नाम क्यों नहीं?
इतना किसी का रिकॉर्ड ही नहीं था ना।
Real stars of Bollywood, Salim Javed join NDTV for an exclusive conversation.
So we can break some news to our viewers that Salim Javed will be returning very soon.
Come back.
Coming soon.
Come back. Coming soon.
Come back of Salim Javed.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Landslide devastation in Kerala's Wayanad. Join NDTV's initiative. Donate for Kerala.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter.
And impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
To the seat of power, Delhi.
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show.
Breakfast news on NDTV. 8 a.m. every day.
Hi, I'm Shreya Saran. Kerala's Wayanad area is hit by devastating landslides, resulting in loss of lives and livelihood. Kerala needs your help right now. Let's join NDTV initiative. Come, donate.
Stay informed and entertained.
Shaped by other men, has testified on her years-long ordeal in the public trial of 51 of her alleged abusers, including him. Ross Cullen has more on this for us.
This is a trial that has shocked France, a mass rape trial of 50 men, plus the husband of the woman who is alleged to have been raped dozens of times by dozens of men over a 10-year period. On Thursday, we heard testimony from the woman herself at the centre of this, Giselle Pellicourt, 71 years old. She said that when she spoke to her children and admitted what had been going on, one of her daughters let out a howl, a sound, she said, which will be forever etched in my mind. She said, I might appear to have a solid facade, but behind that, inside, I am completely devastated. We have also seen video evidence showing this woman in her family home, on her bed, with men having sex with her while she was sedated. And some of the defendants have said, we didn't realise she was sedated. We thought this was consensual as part of a fantasy for the couple, but her husband had actually orchestrated all of this, getting in touch with men on sexual forums and inviting them to come and have sex with his wife, and he said that that would be while she was under sedation. Now, some of the details are pretty harrowing, disturbing to say the least. This trial is now underway in the south of France and is expected to conclude in December. Ross Cullen, NDTV, Paris.
Well, from France, let's get you a quick update from the United Kingdom now. A new infrastructure finance bridge has been launched between India and the City of London Corporation. This finance bridge will help unlock international investment opportunities by way of expediting roadblocks and also propelling growth in construction. The initiative is the brainchild of India's Niti Aayog, which hopes to get London to share its expertise and experiences in India's cities with international investment. What does this mean for India's growth, though, and what can London learn from India in the process? Radhika Iyer explores the opportunities.
The signing and exchange of agreements between the City of London and India's Niti Aayog, supported by the Finance Ministry, at the historic Guildhall in London, which witnessed the launch of the UK-India Infrastructure Finance Bridge. This bridge will identify problems for India in receiving international investment, offer solutions, and make global infrastructure companies aware of India and its thirst for growth. So what will the key tasks for this financial bridge be?
India has huge financing needs. India has a goal of becoming a developed nation by 2047, a $30 trillion economy from about $3.5 trillion now. And to do that would require a lot of actual construction of infrastructure. It struck us that London could be a major source of finance, which it is for the rest of the world.
London has been a leading international financial centre since the 19th century, acting as a centre of lending and investment around the world. But there is something London wants to learn too from India, even as it aspires to offer expertise in sharing India's story to bring in more capital investment.
From the United Kingdom's point of view, with a new government here who want economic growth, we look at what India is doing and we see that we can partner with them and be beneficiaries too and learn about how we get that economic growth. And part of this partnership will allow us, I think, to do that. And that's what I think is exciting for the City of London.
This is something which, if we get it right and we build...
The launch of the UK-IIF bridge comes even after 18 rounds of negotiations for a free trade agreement between the Indian side and the British side could reach no mid-path. While the Labour government is only 3 months old in the UK, after being newly elected with a full majority, it is taking time to reopen the FTA talks with India.
Every relationship between long-standing partners must have multiple pillars to support it. Getting the core pieces of the system, which is really finance, banks, etc., deeply involved in long-term profitable partnerships with each other, is the way in which you can ensure the relationship is truly strategic for the next 20, 30 years. Britain should see India as its best bet for its growth and opportunities ambitions. That's what this contributes to.
90% of India is yet to be built, said Niti Aayog CEO Mr. BVR Subramaniam. A huge challenge up ahead for India as it builds, but an even more humongous opportunity to learn from the experience and mainly the mistakes made by older cities such as London, New York, Tokyo, Paris, etc. on how not to do certain things. This is perhaps an opportunity for India to get it right in the first attempt in a sustainable way, even as it keeps its cities and Tier 2 cities mainly authentic to India's fabric and story. Radhika Iyer from the historic Guildhall in central London, NDTV.
Switching tracks, American election forecaster and historian Alan Lichtman has officially predicted that Vice President and Democratic candidate Kamala Harris will win the White House race next and become the next US president in the upcoming fall elections. Gauri Dwivedi had a word with him. Here's what he predicted.
First question to you, sir. You've been closely monitoring and following many US elections in the past. What's your reading of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump in 2024?
Well, there are all kinds of anomalies in this election. A major party candidate, Donald Trump, a convicted felon, 34 felony counts, facing indictments in 3 other venues. And on the other side, an unprecedented withdrawal of a sitting president from the race right before the Democratic convention. But the keys are the North Star of prediction. They remain constant despite the fluctuating events of the campaign because they tap into the structure of how American presidential elections really work as votes up or down on the strength and performance of the White House party. And that's what the keys gauge. And the way it works, if 6 or more keys, any keys, go against the White House party, they are predicted losers. Otherwise, they are predicted winners. It was this system that enabled me against all the pundits, the pollsters, and other modelers to predict Donald Trump's win in 2016. And what we have this time is the most keys that could fall against the White House party based on my system is 4 to 5, 5 as a maximum. That still leaves them as predicted winners because it takes 6 keys or more to count them out.
So how many keys are there? For the benefit of our viewers, how many keys or how many parameters do you really have on which you decide?
It doesn't quite work that way. It works how many keys count against the White House party, and it takes 6 to count them out. So they've lost the mandate key, which is based upon losses in US House elections. They obviously lost the incumbency key with Biden not running, but with the party uniting around Harris, they avoided the loss of the contest key. Finally, the third key that they lost is the incumbent charisma key, because Harris, whatever you may think of her, is not a once-in-a-generation, broadly inspirational candidate like Franklin Roosevelt or Ronald Reagan. So that's 3 keys down. Remember, it takes 6 keys to count them out. And the only other 2 keys that are shaky are the 2 foreign policy keys, because the wars in the Middle East and Ukraine are so fluid. I think those keys will split and Harris will be down 4 keys, 2 keys short of defeat. But even if they both flip negative, that means Harris is down only 5 keys, still 1 key short of defeat. All the other keys are locked in her favor.
Okay, so between now and the actual election, what according to you are those areas where there could be some lack of clarity or uncertainty?
The only two areas where I see uncertainty, as I mentioned, are the two foreign policy keys: foreign military success, foreign military failure, because of the vicissitudes of war. We don't know exactly what's going to happen in Ukraine and the Middle East. Could there be a ceasefire and a hostage release? Could the Ukrainians stave off the Russians in the Donbass region and make further incursions into Russia? But my point is, no matter what happens with those two keys, there's not enough keys to predict that Donald Trump could regain the White House. For a while, I thought third-party key might be shaky, but the RFK Jr. campaign has fizzled. He suspended his campaign. For a while, I thought the social unrest key might be shaky, but demonstrations at the Democratic convention, turned out to be underwhelming, and the campuses have been very quiet. Nothing approaching the massive sustained social unrest that calls into question the stability of the country. That's what it would take to turn that key.
What about the economy keys? There's the short-term economy, the long-term economy, an area that the Republicans have been really focused on and making it a cornerstone of their campaign.
Yeah, the point of the keys is we don't pay attention to the campaigns. Based on the campaigns, Hillary Clinton should have won overwhelmingly in 2016. She won every debate. She had a better ground game. She was more experienced. She raised more money. She had more ads. My two economic keys are statistical. They're very specifically defined. The short-term economy key says there's no recession in the election year, and the National Bureau of Economic Research that tracks those things has not called a recession. You can't have a recession in just a couple of months. It takes much longer than that for a recession to take hold. So that key is solid. The long-term economy key is also statistical. It asks whether the real per capita growth during the current term is at least equal to that of the average of the previous two terms, and per capita growth under Biden is double or more that of the average of the previous two terms. I don't take into account these fluctuating polls or what the campaigns are doing.
And this is exactly what I was going to ask, that while speaking to you, it looks like almost a certainty that Kamala Harris is coming she's winning this election, but some of the polls seem to suggest that it's pretty much neck and neck between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
That's the beauty of the keys. They're not poll dependent. Look how the polls misled the poll dependent predictors in 2016. The most eminent among them, the Princeton University Consortium of professors, headed by the great Professor Sam Wang, gave Clinton, based on the polls, a 99% chance of being the next president. And Professor Wang said, if I'm wrong, I'll eat a bug on national television. And to his credit, he did. Then you have this clerk, Nate Silver, who just compiles polls and believe he's a great prophet. And he had Hillary Clinton overwhelmingly likely to win. And then when she loses, he said, see, I told you there was a 20, 25, 30% chance that she would lose. So it's meaningless. He can never be right and he can never be wrong. The keys stand above all of that. They called George H.W. Bush's election in 1988 when he was 17 points down in the polls to Michael Dukakis in June and July of the election year, and every pundit and pollster had written him off.
Indeed, and I think that's the beauty of having a very scientific modeling approach as against random surveys of people. So yes, there's a scientific approach, but I want to come to the fact that, sir, you made, which was about that foreign policy and aspects related to the Ukraine-Russia conflict and the war that's taking place in Gaza could be the factors that could be undecided right now. To explain to us what could be the impact that they may have in changing, if at all, your prediction?
no matter what happens with two foreign policy keys, success and failure, it will not change the prediction. As I said, right now I see the keys as split, which would 4 keys. But even if they both flip, things go really sour in both of those wars, that would only be 2 more negative keys on top of the 3 she now holds. That's still only 5 keys, not enough to predict her defeat. So while things could change in wars, they always can, they will not affect my prediction that Kamala Harris will be the next president of the United States.
The Democrat camp would be delighted to hear this prediction, especially because you've got so many in the past, absolutely right. But in the spirit of fairness, if the Republican campaign is listening to this, so what, according to you, could they do, because there's still 2 months left, to at least come close to any of what you're saying, sir?
There's really nothing they can do. That's the whole point of the keys. It's fundamentally different from all of the conventional wisdom about elections, all of the wisdom that the media spends hundreds of millions of dollars covering the campaign every day, as though it was a horse race with candidates sprinting ahead and falling behind. The big message of the keys is it's governance, not campaigning, that counts. And you're looking at the governance of the White House party on things like the economy, foreign policy, social unrest, policy change, scandal, not the events of the campaign. And that's what makes it different from all the conventional wisdom in predicting elections. I'm not fluctuating my predictions based on the day-to-day events of the campaign. You cannot, and no one has ever been able to successfully predict an election outcome by looking at the campaign. Impossible.
All right, Mr. Alan Littman, appreciate you joining us to decode the election and taking out the time and speaking to us.
Landslide devastation in Kerala's Wayanad. Join NDTV's initiative. Donate for Kerala.
New day, new show, a new experience.